Now, I was going to tell you a little bit about the history of the Tea Party, but we'll make that really short because so many of you were there, you kind of know what went on, you've heard about it. Just so you know, the official opening date was January 20th, 1967. And the band on the bill was The Lost, and Willie Alexander actually played. Of course, those of you who know Willie, you know he went on to be a real mainstay in the whole Boston music scene, so it wasn't just a passing shot. And that was true of so many people who played there or who went there and saw great bands. I mean, we're hearing so many stories of people I would have thought even came a lot later and said, oh yeah, I got in there when I was 14, I saw this group, oh man, it was so incredible. So, I mean, that's really what went on there. I think the Tea Party was more than the club. It was really just a cultural flashpoint of the whole thing that was going on in the 60s. And we all know what a wonderful place it was and what a great scene it was. And I had the same reaction. Whoever would have thought that we'd be honoring this as some historic site. But, hey, here we are, so let's not look that gift horse in the mouth. Now, I want to introduce a guy who is more closely identified with the Tea Party than I am. Who, when I was a manager in 67, 68, he came in when I left and continued to produce concerts in Boston. Really, the best concert producer in the country, Don Law.
It's interesting, you know, I hadn't prepared any notes or anything on this, but thinking back to the Tea Party, it's hard to imagine as a kid, really, a guy who was still in college, who came in with under the request of this character, Ray Reapin, who was one of the most extraordinary eccentrics that I'll ever meet in my life. And Steve will know this. I mean, Ray is a guy who drove around in a Mercedes 600 limousine without a license, who never got a full bed, who had a mattress on the floor, who would pick his shirts out of a pile in the morning and come in dressed up in a three-piece suit.
And he was a lawyer.
And he was a lawyer. And he had gone to San Francisco, and he had, you know, he'd experiment a little bit. And we always would try to figure out what Ray was up to. But I came in, and when I look back on it, it was clearly the most extraordinary thing that ever happened in my life, and certainly in my career. It is the favorite time in my life. And I think the reason for it is we have to think back of the time before that. In American music and American culture, the popular music world was really governed by AM radio stations. So this market was really WMEX and WRKO. And one of the interesting phenomena of that culture, which we were part of, is we wanted to change the culture. And I remember one of our first campaigns was Ugly Radio is Dead. And we had these wonderful psychedelic posters, you know, with this woman, etc., promoting WBCN, which broadcast out of the back room of the Tea Party. And what happened in Boston, and partly because of the Vietnam protest, and partly because this world just changed so dramatically, is American culture just shifted in a way that none of us really expected, none of us foresaw. Is this thing grew by leaps and bounds. And it's so different than today in the sense, because we've all, I think unfortunately, our culture has grown more cynical. But that was a time when things happened by word of mouth. They happened by simply the credibility of something. You could have someone on a Thursday night be totally unknown and be a phenomenon by Saturday night. It would grow by just leaps and bounds. And I would drive around in my Volkswagen camper bus, and I'd go and pick up this band playing their second date in America called Led Zeppelin. And I'd drive my little camper bus to the Tea Party, and of course, you know, the roof would come off. Or the same for, and we have to understand the Tea Party was 750 seats. And we had the, you know, the Who doing Tommy, and the Allman Brothers actually moved into my apartment and threw mattresses on the floor and lived for weeks here while they played free concerts at the Cambridge Common.